Have any of you happened to see the movie Lady Bird? Came out a few months back, maybe a few years back, actually. It's a story of a 17-year-old girl who spent the last several years of her beginning adolescent life in total tension with her mom. The movie tracks her senior year in high school and the beginning of her college years. Both of them are at cause for this tension. Both have an infinite capacity to wound each other. It comes to a head while Lady Bird is trying on a prom dress. Her mom had been constantly on her case about something. Lady Bird cries out from behind the other side of the door to the dressing room, "It's too tight." Her mom responds quickly from the other side of the door, "Well, I suggest you not have that second helping of pasta." Intending to help, but. And Lady Bird cries out, "I just wish that you liked me." Her mom replies, "Of course I love you." And Lady Bird shouts back, "But do you like me? Do you even like me?" About 25 years ago, I got to know a then freshman named Timmy. He had an unusual amount of daring and of being remarkably himself in all different kinds of situations. He was able to shrug off dislike when somebody did not connect him or when people made it clear they didn't like him. He didn't seem to have to take it personally. He had an unusual amount, I guess you could say, of self-confidence. And so on a walk one day, I said, "Timmy, I'd love to ask you a question if you're open to answering it." And he said, "Sure, what's the question?" I said, "Timmy, what did your parents do right?" His response was one of his very few quiet moments when he said, "Father Gary, they liked me." I could tell they really liked me. They liked being with me. They enjoyed my company. They enjoyed conversation with me. They came to my events, my sports, my schools, and they looked forward to it. When I was in high school, I tried hard to be liked. I did things I didn't even want to do to be liked at times. I found myself several nights even praying that the classmates I spent time with that night, that they would have a better time even than I did, so that they would initiate with me the next weekend or another time. But about junior year in college, some classmates and I were sitting in my dorm room. I was sitting on my bed, and one classmate was sitting on my windowsill with a big old radiator propped under his feet. Another classmate at my desk chair to my left. We were talking deep, we used to call it. We were learning how to have conversations, and we were talking deep. And at one point, this classmate on the windowsill turned to me, and he said, "Gary, whatever you do, don't change. I like you just the way you are." That night, I discovered for the first time clearly that I was liked. And I could almost say my life turned on a dime that night. And then I began to look around me. And I got this sense of how liked I really was all the time. And I didn't even know it. Like, affection. It animates all of us, and it seems that it animates God, who set up this universe built on the laws of attraction. Particles, elements, nature, human beings, all built on these laws of attraction. God not only loves you, in other words, but actually God likes you. God finds you fascinating. God enjoys who you are. For sure, being liked can make us uncomfortable sometime in that look that somebody gives us when they're trying to tell us something affectionate and vulnerable perhaps to them. We tend to want to look away from that look of someone liking us, like from another and from God. It's something I find myself, the like of God, the like of friends even, I find myself having to almost undergo that. A gift that does not always feel like a gift. The gospel question this Christmas night can become for us: can I allow God to like me? Can you let God, allow God to like you? Can you receive that affection, that regard from God for you? This Christmas night, look at God looking at you. See God's eyes shining for you. At another time, another student, he would always try to stop over here at the CSC during the day between classes or whatever, and he'd always stop in my doorway to say hi, and some of the times we'd talk standing in that doorway. And one day I said, Greg, I love that you stopped by. It means the world to me. But can I ask why? Why do you come here? Why do you stop by so often? And he said, Gary, because I know that you like me. I can tell you like me. Your eyes light up whenever you see me. Why would I not? My friends, let that be your starting point this Christmas night. Let that be the starting point of everything you do and everything you think and everything you feel, that God likes you. God really likes you. God delights in you. That was the starting point for Jesus. In his quest to find the one and only God, he would undergo baptism in the River Jordan by the prophet John. It's no wonder that Paul, in our second reading tonight, that Paul references it in the Christmas readings together on this momentous feast, that he references that baptism moment in Jesus' life. When he came up out of the water, you know the story. He came up out of water. Do you remember what he saw? What he heard? In this symbolic experience, deeper than words or any images we can know, the heavens opened up for him. The heavens opened up for him. And he heard a voice. And the voice said, "You are my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Which is to say, you're a part of me. I'm in you, and you are in me. And I like you. I like you. I like you so much, is what Jesus heard. And Jesus, getting that sense of how deeply liked he was by this Abba God of his Father God, it compelled him from that moment to head out into nature in solitude for the next 40 days to figure out what the heck just happened to me. What was that? What did that mean that the heavens opened up and I heard this love that actually likes me as I am? He needed that time to let it in, to take a hold of him, to possess him. Possessed by affection. Possessed by affection. His life turned on a dime. He let it transform him. That affection, that primordial affection of being liked by God, brought him into being. because he was so firmly convinced that the universe liked him. That was the ground he stood on. That's what began to create him. It's what creates all of us, to find out that we're liked like that. That's what calls us into being. That experience of being liked, the overwhelming experience of being liked by God, set him off into his life's work. Into his life's work, as it does for us. If you imagine God looking at you with desire, if you imagine the face of God looking at you, delighting in you, that's what Isaiah the prophet talked about in the first reading. You are God's delight, the prophet said. Do you believe that you are the delight of God? That you delight the author of all creation, the source of everything that is? That God takes delight in you, that God likes you? If you can imagine that, then the heavens will open up for you as well, just like for him. This is breathtaking in its unfolding, and this is liberating in its effects. And it's so simple. That is what happened to a priest I met on a workshop as we were having lunch together, when he shared with me his story. He was a gay man and was full of shame that he was gay and that he was a priest. It became a big part of a depression he suffered that went deep, and his suicidal thoughts. And one day, when he was on the verge of acting out his self-loathing, the heavens opened up for him. He had an overwhelming experience of being liked as a gay man, as a gay priest, an overwhelming experience of being liked by his father and mother, God. He felt God liking him just as he was. His life, he said, turned on a dime. To be liked is a divinely initiated process, lived out for us in our midst with a view to making us participants in something bigger than we are. In other words, that the God, that is God you are feeling in here when you like somebody. That feeling of liking somebody is God, and that feeling in someone else liking you is God. When you like someone's, and when they like you. Christmas makes a strong statement of divine regard, of one who is liking us here now as we are, who is glad to be with us, who enjoys our company, who wants to be one with us, who wants to be in conversation with us, who wants to share in something with us. And as we learn to relax into that being liked, we're going to find that we are quite different from what we thought we were. What I want to suggest to you this Christmas night is that the word like, in all of its gentleness, is the word most appropriate for the extraordinary power of Christmas. This is a power surge plus so huge that it can birth us into being and continue over our lifetime to be birthed into being, so that we can live without fear and with the same confidence and more that I saw in my young friend Tim. In a way Lady Bird could not. But like that priest who was gay did, like Timmy did, like I did that night with my classmates, like what happened to Jesus coming up out of that river, when for us as for him, the heavens opened up, and we knew beyond knowing that we were liked. That is some of the power afoot in the universe that likes us. One of the things I love about Christmas Eve at the CSC is that moment with a live human baby. And I love looking at the baby and trying to get him or her comfortable with us, Isabella today. But what really moves me is when I glance up from her little eyes to see her mom and dad, to see their faces looking at her, Tim and Grace looking at their daughter. It's everything I know God to be when God looks at us. Because that's what being liked does.